Hello, and welcome to episode 28 of the Mindful Knitter podcast. My name is Claire, and I am your host. I also need a haircut. I feel like this is very present on my mind as I am entering into this podcast episode because I was trying to straighten my hair beforehand, and I was like, what is happening with it? I've also never straightened it, I haven't straightened it since I cut it really short, so I don't really know what's happening with it today. I feel like I look like I just have like a ball of hair placed on my head, and it's disconcerting. I need a haircut. It's getting like poofy, but also I washed it this morning, so it's like a little puffier, and so I tried to straighten it, and it was a whole big mess. Anyway, I'm really glad that you're here, and I appreciate you being patient with my hair today. I don't know what's going on with it, but that's fine. And you might be looking at it and being like, Claire, what are you talking about? It's completely fine. It probably is fine, and I'm probably just being overly weird about it. So that's fine. I'm really glad that you're here. If you're new, I'm very happy that you found me, and I hope that you have fun hanging out today. And if you're returning, welcome back. I am really grateful for you and the community that we've been building out here. I'm coming to you from the southeast of the United States, where I live with my husband, Alex, and our 3 Great Danes, Murphy, Nolly, and Obi. And I guess now our 2 fish. We have 2 fish now. I'll tell you guys the fish story later in the episode because it's actually kind of a big ordeal. It involves falling down the stairs and a neck injury and festival games and all kinds of excitement. So I'll share that with you guys after we talk about some yarny stuff. So yes, if you are new, this is primarily a knitting channel, but we talk about other fiber related things and crafty things. Today I have a lot of works in progress to show you guys and some acquisitions. This is, I think, the first episode I've not had a finished object to show you, which is very strange. Yeah, that's very strange. I'll talk to you a little bit about my sweater, but this isn't necessarily like a finished object from like, I don't know, it's not like a recent finished object. I'll tell you guys a little bit about it though. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. So projects, the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along, I'll share my progress with that and my experience and my thoughts and all of my feelings. And then yeah, acquisitions and some story time at the end. Yeah, and our mindfulness segment for today is going to kind of tie in with the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along because I found it to be a good opportunity to practice some mindfulness skills, or at least I made it an opportunity to practice some mindfulness skills. So yes. Alrighty. Oh, and if you want to look up any of the information from anything I'm sharing with you today, like patterns or designers or anything like that, it is in the description down below the video. You can just click on the little like arrow thingy. Is there like fuzz on my sleeve? There's definitely fuzz on my sleeve. You can click on the arrow below the video and get to the description. That'll have all of the information. It'll have information too on things like Zoom knit nights, which I don't know if we've got one scheduled coming up. So if I get one scheduled, I'll add it into the description below, but off the top of my head, I don't know what the date would be for that. And also contact information. So if you want to connect on Instagram or Ravelry, I am the Mindful Knitter Pod on Instagram, or on Ravelry. On Ravelry, I'm the Mindful Knitter Pod, and we do have a Mindful Knitter podcast group on there as well in the groups section of Ravelry. And then on Instagram, I am the.mindfulknitter. And then if you ever want to email me about anything, it is clairethemindfulknitter@gmail.com. So those are all of my contacty things. And again, they're in the description below. So let's get into some yarny stuff. First, perhaps, this is closest to me, so we'll just talk about my Weasley sweater. We do have a magical make-along that is ending officially today. It started in July, and today is October 31st, so happy Halloween to everybody who celebrates, and happy, I guess, like Samhain for everybody who celebrates that, I guess, this evening, and then tomorrow. And then I think Diwali was also, it's this time, right? Am I making that up? I don't think I'm making that up, but I could be. Anyway, happy all of the things to everybody who's celebrating things right now. So yes, our magical make along does end today. I will be making a video for that. I'm planning on filming that on Friday because my schedule should free up a bit on Friday for me to be able to film the final video where we're doing prizes, and then finished objects, and then just kind of chatting about the magical make along and maybe my thoughts for what we'll do for it for next year, because I kind of want to do it again next year and make it even better. But yeah, we had our magical make along going on. One of my makes for our magical make along was my Weasley sweater, which I will not be submitting for house points, but I'm hoping I'll have it done by the time I film on Friday so that I can show it to you guys in that video. That would be nice. And I think I can do it. I think. But I won't have it done. I won't have it done by tonight, so I won't be able to enter it for any house points for Ravenclaw. But that's all right. And if you're wondering, this was a generic magical make-along. It was not a Harry Potter make-along, but I really like Harry Potter, so I did several Harry Potter things, and so did a few other people. But we've also got like Narnia, and I think we had some Game of Thrones stuff in there. And just generic magical stuff and nature. So it was real fun. I've had a really good time with the make-along. But this is in my bag by Anomalous Mind on Etsy. And I've got my little Trelawney tea. Is it Tea Club of the Month? Tea of the Month Club by Professor Trelawney. Ooh, I can't remember who makes this pen. They're on Etsy too. I'll put it in the description below though. And yeah, Anomalous Mind. Full of my fun Harry Potter stuff on it. So this guy's been a beast. If you've been following along on the chronicles of this sweater, then you know that this has been a trial for me. That's okay though. It builds character. And I have enjoyed it. It's just been more of like a challenge knit for me. Not because it's a difficult knit, but because it's stockinette in a basically a solid color for a million years. And again, if you've been following for a while, you know that's not my jam. I don't really like to knit the same stitch over and over and over again in a solid color. For a lot of people, that's very soothing, and I'm just so happy for you. It is not soothing for me. I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it. Just realized some of my yarn's escaping. I don't know why I don't like it, but I just don't. I generally need some variety in life, just in all areas of life. So I guess that extends to my knitting too. I just need like constant variety. What are you gonna do? So that was this guy. It was a little bit of a lesson in perseverance. And that's okay. I love the yarn. I think I'm really gonna like the finished object. And I like the fact that I'm gonna have a Weasley sweater. This pattern is from the Knitting Magic book, the official Harry Potter pattern book. It's Knitting Magic. And this was the Mrs. Weasley's Christmas sweater pattern within that book. I will have, again, that information down below with the designer's name and everything. But I did finish the body and I finished the collar. This was supposed to be knit flat. I definitely knit it in the round, and then I split for the armhole shaping and the top shaping stuff. I've already got this all seamed. It seamed super neatly. It's a 3 needle bind off / seam kind of technique, and it's super neat. Yeah, I like that. I'd never done that before, and I thought that was, yeah, it was just very neat. I do need to neaten up the collar here where I picked up. I was struggling to pick up these stitches around the collar. So actually the back looks like perfect, of course. And then the front this is the area This is not great either, but I'm gonna have to neaten that up somehow. And I think I know how I'm gonna do that. I've got a couple of ideas. So I'm just gonna make all of that look a little neater. And it's gonna be grand. Yeah, so this is my body of my sweater. Hooray, congratulations to us all that it's finally done. I did try it on after I seamed it all up, and it is big, but I think that's fine. It is supposed to fit like a slouchy, oversized kind of jumper. It's big. It's definitely, I don't know how much negative ease it's got, but it's got a few inches of negative ease. Positive ease. It has a few inches of positive ease. I knit the size medium in the pattern. I think I went up one needle size. I think. I'll have to double check it. I'll try to make sure I make notes of all of that whenever I normally don't put my projects on Ravelry. I'm trying to get better about doing that. But yeah, if you have any questions too, you can ask me. I think I went up one needle size because I was holding yarn double for this, and it just felt like the fabric was going to be a little too dense if I did the suggested needle size. So that probably did add a bit of positive ease to this for me. It's really big. I don't think it looks too big, like just now holding it up, but when I tried it on earlier today with just my t-shirt and not, you know, this on, it was a lot, but that's okay. It's supposed to be cozy and oversized. So the yarn that I did use for this, I know I've talked about this before, so I'll just kind of briefly remind you guys. It is the Eco Tweed. It's the Ella Ray Eco Tweed. It's organically grown Merino tweed blend. And this color is the Lapis Lazuli colorway. And it's like, I would say kind of like a DK or a light DK. How many? It's 328 yards and 100 grams. So I'd say it's like a light DK, which is why I ended up holding it double, because the pattern calls for Aran weight. So those two held together did give me, I would say, a slightly more than what Aran would normally be, which is why I think I sized up my needle just one size, or like half a size. I think it was like one size. I think the pattern maybe, don't quote me, I think it calls for like a 9, a US 9, and I think it's US 10. I think. Again, I will have clearer details about that for anybody who wants to know, and whenever I am talking about this as a finished object, I'm sure. Yes, so I also, so I held it double with itself for most of this, and I had 4 skeins of the Lapis Lazuli Eco Tweed. I also held it double with this. This is another Ella Ray, but this is the Superwash Merino in Riverwood Heather. It's really soft and quite lovely, and it has this lovely sheen. It has a little bit more green to it than the Lapis Lazuli does, but that's okay, because when it's held double, you can't really tell, and it adds just a tiny bit of interest. Like, you can see just a little bit how it's different at the hem, because I just did it at the hem and around the collar. So that's the body of the sweater. I'm on Sleeve Island, but I'm starting to enjoy Sleeve Island now. Okay, yeah. So I had to hold yarn double. I'm smiling because I'm about to show you guys what I hope doesn't look like a giant mess. I think that this will all come together just fine in the finished product, but at the moment, I don't know if this looks like a hot mess. All right, so here we go. Here's my sort of hot mess. So what's happening is I'm running out of this Eco Tweed. And so I'm holding it double with it. Can you see sort of with the light? So I started holding it double about here with the Superwash Merino. Well, I really am not super convinced that I have enough of either of these to get all the way down to the sleeve. So then I started holding the Superwash Merino double with the other Eco Tweed that I have. This is also Ella Ray. This is Ella Ray Eco Tweed in the Tumblewood colorway. So it's this gray with rainbow nips. which is super cute. I think you can see some of the rainbowy nips. Super, super cute. I really like this yarn a lot. I love the Eco Tweed. I wouldn't mind using this again for another project at some point. Yeah, so I'm holding it double with the Superwash, and then I'm going to do the cuff. I really only have a few more inches of the sleeve left because these are really big oversized sleeves. Like when I put this on my arm, like I probably just need half for my actual arm. This is all positive ease up here. So I did not follow the pattern for the decreasing for these sleeves. One, because it wanted me to knit the cuff up, and I knew that I needed to be able to watch my yarn as I went, and I knew I wanted to do a color change as I got to the cuff. So anyway, I knew I had to do them shoulder down. Otherwise, I wasn't going to know how much yarn I needed to be able to finish each sleeve to make them symmetrical. I think that makes sense. So I reversed the pattern and then just ditched the decreases because the way that they were saying to decrease, I didn't love. I don't know why, but I didn't love it. So I just am doing my own decreases. I am knitting these in the round. Again, it's supposed to be knit flat, but here we are. I'm knitting it in the round on DPNs, as you can see by the DPNs that are attached. So this is fun. I'm enjoying this more because there's variety. So as soon as I started adding this, I was like, ooh, it's like heathered, and that's kind of fun because you're getting this marled effect. And then I wanted to get to this section, so I was like more motivated to get this done so I could get to here because I was very curious how the rainbow was gonna look with the Riverwood heather. And I think it's cute. I think it's going to be very cute. And I don't think this is going to look super random either because this is about here on my arm. This color change is happening like about here on my arm. So that'll just go to here. So it'll just be this fun little like accent marled color thingy at the wrist. Well, at the forearm, and at the wrist, I think I'm going to do another little color thingy, like right before the bind off. I don't think this will look random because I am using this to do the color work on the front. Now, the original wants a duplicate stitch letter on the front for like your A or your B or your whatever. Like Harry had an H and Ron had an R and etc. At least in the movie. But, you know, in the books, Mrs. Weasley knit them all kinds of different sweaters. So she didn't just knit them sweaters with their initials on them. So I'm not convinced I'm going to do my initial or an initial on here. I'm thinking about doing embroidery instead. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I have an idea. So this will be embroidered. Something will be embroidered on here with this. And then I'll have my sleeves that have the little, like, fade sort of happening. So I don't think it'll look random. I think it will all tie in together, but I guess we'll find out. So I'm happy with the progress I've been making on this. I wanted to have this done by the end of the make along, but that didn't happen, partially because I was not super motivated to just knit this same color over and over and over again in stockinette. That just was not exciting me. But then the falling down the stairs story ties into why I didn't get to work on this very much. So my doctor told me not to. Yeah, so I would have had this done by today, but I don't because staircases are dangerous. What a fun story that will be when we get to that in a few minutes. But that's my Weasley sweater. I'm excited that it's almost done. I am really wanting to cast on like 5 different sweaters. So I want that done so that I can cast on my next sweater. Because I tend to be a fairly monogamous-ish knitter. I really don't like to knit on multiple things at the same time. So if I have a shawl project, I kind of just like having one shawl project. If I have a sweater going, I really just want one sweater. Same with socks. And like if I just want one of a thing. I want my one shawl project, my one sweater, my one hat, my one whatever. I used to just be completely monogamous and only knit one thing at a time. And when I was done, then I could start the next thing. So if I wanted a hat, I would finish my sweater before I started my hat or whatever. Now I have several projects going on at the same time, but I don't have multiples of the same type of project. Because that keeps it interesting for me. It adds variety, but it doesn't add so much variety that it's overwhelming. And I do like finishing things because I like to have the object because I really like to use them. And then gift knitting is a thing, so I have to be able to finish it to give it to the person. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with my monogamy at the moment, I guess. But speaking of monogamy, in here is my Stephen West Mystery Knit Along. This is the Twist and Turns Knit Along, or Twists and Turns shawl for the 2022 Stephen West Mystery Knit Along. So that's in here, and I've basically been monogamous with this for the last week and a half, because it got fun again. Hooray! So let's show you this, I guess, since I've already mentioned it. That'll be nice and organized. This is a different project. We'll talk about that in a second. So this will have a spoiler. First, I'll show you my yarn. I'll let you know when I'm going to show you the project because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But this does have a spoiler up to clue 2. I'm not all the way through clue 2. I'm about halfway, probably a little over halfway through clue 2. So if you don't want spoilers for that, I will let you know when I'm showing it. But first, I'll show you guys my yarn because, well, one, it's just good to show you my yarn, but then also I changed things. So this was my original color palette for the Stephen West shawl. And I like this color palette. I still like it. I think these are I think these go well together. These two are Yarn Bee from Hobby Lobby in their authentic hand-dyed range. These are both, fingering weight yarns, 100% superwash merino. This one is Flamenco. It's this beautiful, very pale pink with blue speckles. It also has some yellow speckles, but they're exceedingly subtle. So I only see one every once in a while, but they do exist. I didn't actually notice them when I bought this skein. It was only when I was knitting with it that I was like, there are little yellow speckles in here every once in a while. This is a fun colorway. I really do like this one. And the Yarn Bee Authentic Hand Dyed is so soft and nice for a good budget-friendly yarn. I like this stuff. It's 100% superwash merino wool. And this is the Zahara colorway. It's this beautiful tonal brown with brown speckles, which never shows up super great on camera for some reason. I wonder if the sheen kind of throws off the camera. I'm not sure, but I love these two. And then this is a Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering in the Burlingame colorway, and it's this lovely multicolored pink, which I think looks a little autumnal. This guy is no longer my pop color though. So these two are still my main color and my contrast color, but I fired this guy as my pop color. Not because he's a bad color, but because I wanted more of a pop. When I was knitting with this, when I was knitting these three together, it was just very safe. And I thought that I wanted that originally. It's one of the reasons I picked these, is because it seemed like a safe bet. It also seemed kind of like a soothing color palette, which I kind of wanted at that time. And it was kind of autumnal, which I also kind of wanted at the time because I was really like in the mood for soothing autumnal knits that were like in the more natural color range-ish. Obviously these two colors are not, well, you can find them in nature. So anyway, that's why I chose this palette. And I also wanted to knit from Stash, and this was from Stash. So that's how I got to this place. But this guy got fired because I kept seeing people's beautiful, bright color pops and bright shawls. And Clue 1 was a haul. You've probably heard other podcasters or other channels or just other knitters that you know talk about Clue 1. Some people really, really liked it. And I am, again, so happy for them. Truly, without any sarcasm, I am very happy for them. I had mixed feelings about Clue 1. I think I'm a better knitter because of Clue 1. Hopefully I'm a better person because of Clue 1. It was a lesson in patience. It was a lesson in patience. It also was an opportunity for me to practice some very real world mindfulness, which I'll talk to you about a little after I show you Clue 1, just in case you don't know what it looks like. But you'll probably understand once I show it to you. And I will explain to you how mindfulness was practiced in knitting this. And it's actually something that I practice a bit with my Weasley sweater. And it's a good mindfulness practice for all areas in life, but this is one way to practice it in knitting. So that was my original color palette. My new color pop is, I want to show you all three together because it makes me really happy. So I wanted these bright shawls, and actually when I originally decided I wanted to do the MKAL, I wanted to do a bright pink shawl. Partially for breast cancer awareness because it's October. I actually had all kinds of plans for doing breast cancer stuff this month, and then I totally fell off the ball with that for a variety of reasons, mostly like my personal life. But that's okay. Hopefully next year we can do something good for that because I've got some good ideas. Where's I going with this? Oh, so I wanted a bright pink shawl for this MKAL, but I didn't think the stash that I had was going to work for it, just based on what he was saying, because we needed 200 grams of a main color, 200 grams of contrast color, and then 100 grams of a pop color. And the way he was describing the pattern, this was my first Stephen West Mysterina. This was my first Stephen West pattern. I didn't really want to take a bunch of risks with this one, so I was like, I'll play it safe, and I'll get safe colors, and I'll get, 2 of a main and 2 of a contrast, and then something that pops but that is safe feeling. And that's what I did. So I'm knitting Clue 1, and it's just not thrilling me, and I'm practicing my mindfulness, and I keep seeing people's wonderful bright shawls. So I got to Clue 2, praise everything good. Praise. And Clue 2 was so much more enjoyable. And then I was not convinced about my pop color still. So I put in a lifeline and started knitting with this guy. And, after the first repeat of using this guy, I guess it wasn't a repeat. I guess the first, section of using this guy, I was just like, that's not going to work for me. It is kind of boring. I mean, it works fine, but it just was not what I wanted. I wanted something more exciting and just happier. So I went through all of my stash again and just threw a bunch of stuff at it. And then I finally picked up this guy who I'd been avoiding because I was like, no, there's no way that's going to work. There's no way. That's just so not me. Not that it wouldn't work as a color palette, but just I didn't think it was me. And then it worked. It worked so well. Okay, so I've hyped this up enough. I'll show you guys what I've got. So this is my new color palette for my MKAL shawl. Look at this. Is that not fun? Oh my gosh. So much fun. So I don't wear neon in my, everyday life, but Stephen West shawls need neon sometimes. Like if you like that, I just say go for it because he's so fun and he's so bubbly and just so bright and like, he's just like a little ball of brightness. And so I wanted a little ball of brightness in my shawl. And this is neon. You can probably tell. It's like highlighter pink. It is neon pink. I don't know what this is going to be like to wear. It's probably going to be really fun to wear. I can't wear it to work, but I could wear it in all sorts of other areas in life. I think these three colors together are so much fun because I've got these very soothing neutrals and then this is bright pink. It's really fun, especially knit up together. This is actually the guy that I found in my stash. And this was I think a 50-gram skein from like a one-of-a-kind pack from Nanette Studio. This is what I have left after knitting Clue 2, or most of Clue 2. The part of Clue that uses this color, because I don't think I use it again in Clue 2. And so I knew I didn't have enough of it, and I didn't have another color that really went along with this. I didn't have another color that I liked as much as this, so that would coordinate, and then I didn't have any more of like a highlighter pink. So I got on Nanette Studios shop on Etsy, and I got this guy, and this is Grapefruit Sorbet. I think she still has this in the shop. That is a pretty close match. I got this guy last year, and then I got this just a few days ago. So that is a pretty close match. That is almost identical. Really, the only differences are that this has bright neon orange speckles in it, and this has some like just a few like very light speckling of like a dark pink. That's pretty much the only difference. So this is exciting. And I can't tell you how happy I am that I made this choice. This is making the experience for me. I was slogging through Clue 1, and now it's turned me monogamous because all I want to do is knit on my shawl now because this color combination makes me so happy. And every time I pick up this yarn, the pink to knit with, I get so happy. So I'm going to show you my project. So if you don't want to see Clues 1 and half / most of Clue 2, look away now. But I'm going to just show it to you just for a minute or two, just so I can let you see what the colors look like. And then I can talk more in detail about the sections when I'm not showing it, I guess. Okay. I'm going to show it in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Look at this. Isn't it fun? Oh my gosh. So much fun. There's just yarn and needles everywhere. That's okay. Yeah, these stitches are all being held, as you can see. Let me see if I can get this a little neater. That's sort of, I don't know if that helped at all. So yeah. Oh, I'm like a frilled lizard. Are those in Australia? I think so. Those like frilled lizards. Anyway, that was goofy. All right. So isn't this so fun though? If you don't like these color combinations, don't knit with them, I guess. But I love this. I think it's so much fun. I love how just like neutral and like calm these colors are together. This pink and the brown, the light pink, pale pink and the brown. And then this is a color pop. I don't think you can get a whole lot more color poppy. It's just so much fun. I love it. I just sit it on my coffee table where I do all my crafting in the living room, and I just have it laying out so I can look at it. I just can't. I can't with this. It's so much fun. All right, so I'll talk to you guys about the sections. So these are the sections that were soothing and nice and enjoyable, because you can kind of tell they're not particularly complicated. Although I did make changes because I didn't like the way he did one side versus the other, so I changed it. There wasn't anything wrong with it. It was just not enjoyable for me to knit it the way he wrote it, so I just altered the pattern based on what I knew that I would enjoy more. And so you got all this section, which you've probably seen before if you've been knitting or if you've been keeping up with other people's knitting of this. You've seen this section, and you've probably heard all of our gripes about it. Or people probably have loved this. It does look super nice when it's done. I'm very pleased. I feel very accomplished. This looks very neat. I really like it done, but doing it is a different story. Okay, my shawl's put away, so it's safe to look again if you were averting your eyes. So with the mindfulness practice, so part of kind of classic mindfulness practice, sorry if I kicked the camera and it jostled. Part of classic mindfulness practice is being able to just be, and to just be with what is. It's being able to intentionally turn your attention towards just what is. It is noticing, it is simply noticing what is happening without any kind of judgment towards it, or trying to make it go away, or trying to make it stay longer, or it's just being and noticing as you are being. I don't know if that makes sense. I know that I read the definition, or one of the most, widely used definitions of mindfulness. I know I read that out on my first podcast episode. But yeah, it's just intentionally, on purpose, noticing the present moment without any kind of judgment or attachment. So I practiced that with Clue 1. I was noticing I was getting irritated with it, and that I wasn't enjoying the knitting, and that I just kept thinking, this is taking so long. Oh my gosh, this is taking so long. Oh my gosh, how many stripes do I have left? How many repeats do I have left? This is taking so long. That's the opposite of mindful knitting. That is the exact opposite of mindful knitting. So I caught myself. And I do that with other projects too sometimes. And, we all do that with different areas in life sometimes, which is one of the reasons why mindfulness practice is so useful to us. So I decided this is a project I'm going to do. I'm not going to give up on this project. I want to do it. I want to experience this make along, or this knit along, and I want to have the finished object. I want to feel accomplished when I'm done. People keep telling me Clue 2 is better. So I've avoided spoilers, so I don't really look at what's coming up. But people were telling me Clue 2 was one I would like more, and that people kept saying they liked it more, and etc. So I wasn't going to stop knitting it. I didn't want to just suffer the whole time. So, I practice mindfulness in so many other areas in life, and I do in my knitting too. But most of the time, my knitting is fun and enjoyable, and it's easy to be mindful. This was a great opportunity to practice mindfulness when it's hard, which is one of the times that it is most beneficial to practice mindfulness. So instead of thinking about the next row, or instead of thinking about what if I don't like my pop color when I get to it, or thinking about how many stitches there are left, or whatever, I just practiced knitting this stitch right now, this row right now. I'm using this yarn right now. I'm doing this movement right now. I can hear the clink of my needles just right now. I just stayed very present with what I was doing right now, and I made the decision to release any thoughts about what was coming, thoughts about what had already happened, any fears that I had about what might happen with it, any hopefulness that I had for it. I just released anything that wasn't this very moment with my yarn and my hands, and I just had my attention on that. And it made the experience so much more enjoyable. The time didn't matter anymore. The repeats didn't matter. The pop color, that I haven't gotten to it yet, it doesn't matter. That's in the future. That's a future me problem. I don't have to worry about that right now. Right now, I just want to enjoy these beautiful blue speckles every time they come up in this pink yarn, or the way that this little brown section looks different from that lighter brown section that was 5 stitches ago. I just want to be present with my yarn and my project and this movement. One of the things that came up with this project or this section, the clue one for a lot of people was it didn't have a great flow and rhythm to it. There was a lot of stopping and starting. And that was disruptive. And so I just decided to be mindful of it. Instead of being irritated that I had to turn my work again, I just was like, and now I'm turning my work again. And I'm doing this technique, and now I'm turning it again so that I can do the next technique. And I just stayed very neutral about it. And within that neutrality, I was able to enjoy it again. I was able to find peacefulness, and I was able to relax into it again. So the first half of clue one felt like not just a slog, it was like an uphill hike, but not the fun kind. The second half of clue one was fine. Do I ever want to knit that clue again? No. But did I manage to enjoy the second half of it so much more because I was just able to be mindfully present with it? Yes. And that's the goal of my hobby, is to enjoy it and to relax and to get to feel textures and see colors and hear clinking of needles and to create and to just be present for a few moments and to slow down for a while. That's the whole point of my hobby for me. So sometimes my mindfulness practice is easy to do. And knitting really lends itself to mindfulness a lot. But sometimes it's hard. And sometimes I need to remind myself to be mindful and to be present again in the pattern, with the yarn, with the movement, with the whatever. You know, my dog is just sleeping there peacefully as I'm knitting quietly in my rocking chair. And that's a wonderful moment. So the fact that I have so many repeats left, or the fact that I have to turn it so many times, or, you know, all of that sort of stuff, in the grand scheme of things, for me, doesn't matter. It just matters that I'm getting to do these little things in this moment. I can smell my yarn every once in a while, just to be present. So yeah, I guess that's our mindfulness segment for today. Kind of just organically fit in with our MKAL portion. Yeah, I needed to remind myself to practice some mindful knitting with this project because it was not easily lending itself to mindfulness for me. And the second, Clue 2, has just been so much fun. I've really been enjoying Clue 2 a lot. So if you're doing the Mystery Knit Along, feel free to comment below. I would love to hear about your experience. I'd love to see your colors. We do have a Mystery Knit Along group tab or section or thread. I guess it's a thread. We have an MKAL thread on our Ravelry group where some of us are posting. We are posting spoiler free though, so we just have like a link to our Ravelry project page. We're not posting pictures of what clue we're on, but we're just generally chatting and sharing experiences and stuff about it on there. So I'd love to have you join us there because I am having a lot of fun with the MKAL now. And I guess it's not really, I don't know if it's really over this Thursday. It's just there aren't any more clues. All the clues are out, but plenty of us are still knitting on it, so it's still going. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say really about that. I'm enjoying it. I'm really glad I'm doing it. I'm glad that I switched out my pop colors, and I'm glad that I remembered to practice mindfulness in that trying time because it really helped, and I enjoyed it so much more. And it, you know, felt like it went by more quickly because I wasn't constantly thinking about the future and I wasn't constantly being irritated with the present. I was just able to be with the present. First in a neutral way, and then in a peaceful way, and then in an enjoyable way. So that was real good. All right, so before I talk about the sweater or what's in here, I'll briefly talk about the sweater. Just very briefly. This is something I made up, so I don't have a pattern for this to share with you guys. I completely made this up. I knit this before I had ever knit a pattern, ever. I had spent, I don't know, 9-10 years knitting garter stitch stuff, and then doing color work because I've just made up color work. It was in Tarja, but I didn't know what it was at that time. I didn't know how to do color work. I just played with yarn until it did what I wanted. So I didn't use patterns. I didn't use Etsy or Pinterest or anything for the first like 9 years of my knitting experience. I didn't have books. I just didn't do anything. I just played with the yarn until it did what I wanted. So this is a more recent version of that. This I knit a little over a year ago, almost 2 years ago now at this point. And this was one of those kind of experiments where I just was like, oh, I want to knit a sweater. I don't want to use a pattern. I didn't really realize that YouTube tutorials existed yet. I hadn't discovered YouTube podcasts yet for knitting. I was still in my black hole of knitting. So I thought to myself, sweaters are basically just a series of rectangles seamed together. That seems easy enough. So I didn't even measure anything, really. I just took a sweater that I liked the fit of out of my closet and cast on the number of stitches that kind of looked like it would match the bottom hem of that sweater. And then I just knit a rectangle. Actually, for the front, I sort of did some shaping-ish. I knit 2 rectangles, but they decreased up here. So this part was originally more of like a V-neck because I decreased as I went so that I get like a V-neck. And then the back was just a rectangle, one gigantic rectangle. And then the sleeves were also knit flat as giant rectangles. And then I seamed it all together. It was a sweater. It looked like a sweater. It looked like a sweater that somebody had made up in the dark with no pattern. So it was wearable, but it was real heavy because this portion was like almost off the shoulder because I didn't do any kind of ribbing or any finishing at all. It was just bound off in this V section ish and then seamed. And then the sleeves were exceedingly long and I had to fold them back. I had to roll the cuffs a lot. So it was okay. It was technically wearable, but it wasn't comfortably wearable. So I dug this out. Oh, I didn't really dig it out. It was sitting on top of my other knits in my little knit bookcase in my closet. So, but I got it out and I decided I wanted to wear it because it's getting real cold here. So I wanted something cozy to just throw on to wear around the house. And I kept thinking about the sweater. And so I was like, I should just alter it because I know how to alter this thing now. Because I've been knitting for over a year now with patterns and I know how ribbing and things work now. Hooray. And I've knit a few sweaters now with patterns. So what I did was I picked up stitches around that gigantic V-neck collar thing and I just did a 2x2, 3x3. I did a 3x3 rib for the collar, and I don't know how many rows I did. I could count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did 6 rows, and then I did a bind. I think I did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, and that took it from like almost off the shoulders and like low to this. So I just needed to be cinched in and held in because all the weight was just pulling it. That's why it was so wide. So now it's a perfectly good collar. And then the sleeves, I took off about, I think it was like 6 inches or more of the sleeve. I just ripped it out. Yeah, I just ripped it out. I found where I had tied a knot into the ends, and I unwove the little tails and I untied the knots and just pulled it out. I had put the sweater on and like marked with stitch markers where I wanted it to be and where I wanted my cuff to be before I did that. And I just unwound it until I got to my little stitch marker spot. And then I decided I wasn't going to do any kind of decrease thing really. Well, I guess I did a rapid decrease because I wanted these like kind of almost bishop sleeves type. Yeah, they're kind of like bishop sleeves. They're not quite balloon sleeves, I guess. I guess they're bishop sleeves. I don't know. So I wanted that look. I've just got just stuff hanging out everywhere because of the puppy and his claws. But this is a house sweater, so I don't really care. Anyway, yeah, so I just decreased very rapidly over the course of like 2 rows and did these pretty like tighter cuffs right here. This is also a 3x3 rib. on the cuffs. This sleeve I made a little too short, but I don't really mind because that actually is very convenient for when I'm like working around the house, doing laundry or dishes or whatever. These get pulled up a lot for me to do dishes. It keeps them out of my way. So this was a very utilitarian kind of sweater. Not one I would wear out, probably. I did wear it out one time. Now it's way too pilly and I won't wear it out again. And the dog has pulled out all of these different yarns in it. But it's super cozy and useful for just throwing on in the morning to do housework or spend the day inside. I think this was knit with Red Heart. I think it's like Chic, Sheep, or Sheep, Chic, something like that. It's a merino wool. I'm pretty positive it's a superwash merino wool. I'll have to check though. I got it on Amazon. And this color I think is called Velvet or Velveteen. It might be called Cashmere, but I think it's Velvet, this colorway. But yeah, very budget friendly kind of yarn. And I like the sweater. It's very functional. It is not masterfully done, but for never having knit a sweater before in my entire life and not using a pattern, I'd never used a pattern before either. Yeah, just making this up 100% in the dark, I don't think it's that bad. It fit. So there's that, but I definitely had to add these finishers in later. So I did that a week or two ago, and I've been, well, I guess like 3 weeks ago at this point, and I've been wearing it quite a bit this fall. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys because I don't know if maybe you have some like knits that you had from a while ago that you just don't love, but you don't love them because of small things that you could tweak now. Yeah, I just encourage you, if there's, maybe you have some things to pull back out and just do some finishing touches on, or some small alterations. This just took a few evenings, like I think like 2 or 3 evenings to do all this, and now it's a very wearable sweater that I get a lot of use out of, and I can throw it in the washing machine, which is great. So yeah, so that's my fun, kind of like very improvised. Oh gosh, words are hard sometimes. This is my very improvised shawl. All right, so in this project bag, very briefly, these are Alex's socks. You guys have heard about these a few times. The saga has continued. I completely ripped out the other ones because I realized I was knitting them on US 2s. We're not going to get into all of that. I think I do talk about this in greater detail in one of my upcoming Vlogmas episodes, because I am, my plan is to kind of chronicle the different gift knits that I'm doing throughout Vlogmas. And so some of those I'm already starting. So I've started some filming for Vlogmas already. I feel very prepared and on top of things. Yeah, so I go into greater detail about these socks on that, but basically I had to rip out the other sock because it wasn't going to fit. It was knit on US 2s, or was it US 1.5s? I think it was either US 1.5s or US 2s. It was too big. It wasn't going to work. So this is knit on US 1s. This is knit using the new yarn that I got off of Etsy. And then I alternate every, other row with the yarn that I got from the flea market, because even though they are the same yarn, they are 2 different dye lots. So they look like 2 completely different yarns. Oh, that's very on the floor. Oh gosh. Okay, we're good. Yeah, they look like 2 completely different yarns because they are different dye lots, and that's what happens sometimes with hand-dyed yarn. So I do like them. I'm hoping Alex likes them because he does not like heavily variegated things, which is why I got him this one. So when this arrived, I don't know. The man's getting these and he can either like them or not. Yeah, so the yarn is Wildfoote luxury sock yarn, which I would not say this is luxury sock yarn. 75% washable wool, 25% nylon. It is 215 yards and 50 grams. The colorway is Bluegrass, the Wildfoote. I would not call this luxury sock yarn. And the main reason why is because in this skein, I have gotten maybe 10 grams into it, and I have already had 6 knots in 10 grams where the yarn was broken and they just tied it back together. That's not luxury. So I like the yarn itself, and I'm not really particularly upset about that because it wasn't very expensive, but I would not call it luxury. I don't really know why they call it luxury, honestly. But it's a perfectly fine sock yarn. I think it'll be durable. It's a little bit more on the rustic side. Yeah, and it's perfectly fine to work with, and I think it'll make great socks, but luxury seems to be stretching it. All right, last work in progress. I have so many works in progress. It's so weird to not have a finished object to show you guys, but I guess this sort of count. It's not, it doesn't really count, I guess. Oh, this is going back into stash. Oh, no, it's not. It's staying. Well, no, it's staying. I really want to make a hat with this soon. I'll tell you guys more about this yarn whenever I do make a hat with it. Because off the top of my head, I don't remember the information about that yarn, but I threw it in here because I wanted to make a hat with it. So, all right, what happened with this is during my initial frustration with Clue 1, I needed a palette cleanser. I needed a mental break. I needed something that wasn't that shawl, and I didn't want to knit my sweater. So I cast on a hat, as one does. I've actually never knit a hat. Well, I take that back. I have knit hats, but it's been a long time. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's unfair to say I've never knit a hat. But the hat that I'm knitting right now is it's either Upsala or Upsala. It might be Upsala, but it's spelled Upsala hat. It is a free pattern by Gagnon Osborn, and it's super cute. I'm gonna turn up the brightness a little bit. That might help you see it. Super, super cute with all these little like floral details. So yeah, free pattern on Ravelry for a bulky hat. And this is what I've got so far. So I've got my brim that I forgot to do the twisted rib on. I just did a normal 1x1 rib, but that's fine. I'm not ripping it out. I think my 1x1 rib is charming. So, and I feel like it's neat enough. It doesn't need to be the pinnacle of neatness for me. I'm fine with it looking like it's hand knit. And yeah, I've started on my first little bits of this cute little flower detail. So I think this is going to be a very cute hat. This is yarn that I specifically bought to make a hat with about a year ago when I was in Wisconsin. This is the Malabrigo Mecha in the Olivia colorway. Olivia colorway in English. It's 130 yards for 100 grams. And yeah, it's this single ply, kind of bulky weight, beautiful Superwash Merino yarn. It's got this lovely tonality to it. It's like it is variegated, but you can see it's like a very subtle variegation with this like very light goldy, kind of burnt gold kind of thing, and like a steel blue on like almost like a beige, it's almost like a grayish. It's a very cool beige kind of base. So I think this is going to be a lovely hat. I need a hat. I don't have a hat right now that looks good with this haircut, so I'm hoping that this one will, because the hat that I have right now makes me look like a lunch lady. So, and there's nothing wrong with being a lunch lady, but I don't want to accidentally look like I'm wearing a knitted hairnet while I'm out for like a walk, because that's just not the situation where you're wearing a hairnet. If I was in a kitchen, sure. But if I'm out hiking, that's just strange. So I am knitting this hat in the hopes that it will look cuter, because it did not look cute when I put my normal I have like a very slouchy hat. It's almost like a tam. I and I wear it like, instead of like slouched up, like I wear it like down, which normally looks really cute. Does not look cute with this haircut because it completely, all of my hair goes inside of it, or I have to pull it so far back on my hair that like the weight of the hat like pulls it off of my head. So it's not a cute look. It's just not. I don't look cute in it. And sometimes I like to look cute. Most of the time I don't really care, but sometimes I do care. At the very least, I want to look appropriately dressed, and it is not appropriate for me to look like a lunch. It's a lunch monitor, or I don't know. I feel like the name changed for that job, and I don't know what the official name is anymore. But it doesn't look appropriate for hiking or walking outside or etc. Anyway, it was a disappointment when I wanted something to keep my head warm, and I put it on, and I didn't like what I saw. So, onward. All right, that's all of our not finished objects, works in progress. Whew, that's a lot. I didn't realize it was going to take me so long. Well, it was kind of chatty, I guess. So, what are we doing now? Acquisitions. That's what we're doing. So, our acquisitions are yarny. I might talk about needle adjacent stuff at the end perhaps, but first we'll talk about some yarny acquisitions. So my first acquisition, I actually ordered this off of Etsy, or not Etsy, Amazon, and I haven't gotten to use them yet because I haven't had a project that needed this size needle yet, because I think I ordered the wrong size needle. I think I was thinking I'd ordered a size that I use more often. I don't use a 4.5 millimeter all that often, but these are the Prim circulars. Oh gosh, we're okay. Nobody panic. 4.5 millimeters, 80 centimeters. It's ergonomic. Yeah, triangle shaped needles with the steel cord. I really wanted to try these because a friend had told me that Prim was really, really comfortable. And I do have hand pain. I have, I think I've mentioned before I have an autoimmune thing. So, you know, chronic inflammation and pain and things is just something that I have to live with. So the more ergonomic and the less hand pain inducing the needles are, the better. So I'm going to try these out. I kind of am interested in the crochet hooks as well. But yeah, I just ordered this one set or one pair to give it a try before I invested in a whole set or what have you. So I'm interested to see what the Prim will be like. If you have experience with Prim, let me know in the comments what your experience has been, yay or nay. And if you know of other like really, really comfortable ergonomic crochet hooks or knitting needles that you would recommend, let me know that as well, because I, you know, could always be in less pain. It'd be nice. So, yeah, for someone who lives with chronic pain, anything that reduces that is welcome, as long as it is legal and not harmful with harmful side effects. Yeah. And then it could also be helpful for other people, because I know other people have chronic pain and other people's hands, and there's arthritis and all sorts of stuff. So we could probably all benefit from your contribution. So if you know of anything that is particularly comfortable or ergonomic, please comment below, because we could all benefit from your wisdom and experience. So, okay, this next thing, okay, before I show you the exciting thing, I'll show you this too. This is kind of exciting. I went on a shopping, my husband and I kind of had a date this Saturday. I say date kind of loosely. Well, no, not loosely. Because we don't normally just go out, the two of us, just for the purpose of hanging out. We don't really do that often. I think I want to start to get in the habit of doing that every month, because I think that's good for us. Because we coexist so well together. Our personalities just mesh really well. It is very easy for us to be together. We live in the same space very well together. And so we forget to do coupley things sometimes because it's just so easy to be together. So we really don't do coupley stuff very often, and I don't feel like we like need to like push that so much, but it would be nice to do it sometimes. So, and it doesn't happen organically, just on its own. Like Yeah. So, I think I'm going to propose that we have like a date once a month. I'm going to ask him and see how he feels about that. But anyway, he just, out of the blue was like, hey, let's like spend Saturday together and have like a date. Or let's just spend Saturday together. Like, you want to go to the yarn shop? And I was like, first, yarn shop? Second, is this a date? When was the last time we went on a date? Probably over 6 months ago. It could be more than that. We don't go on dates. Like, we just don't. Not at the house together. Like, we don't even do movie nights together at the house. We just don't. Like, we coexist very easily together. And we're both pretty independent people. So I love to be alone knitting. And he loves to be in his office playing games. So it just doesn't really happen that we hang out, just the two of us often. Usually if we're hanging out, we're like driving on a trip together. Or I guess we spent a whole week alone on vacation not too long ago. It was just the two of us. So we've never done that before, other than our honeymoon. Well, and when we've been overseas. Okay, so maybe we do stuff, but we don't do dates. So, and I make it sound like we never hang out or talk to each other. We talk to each other all of the time. But it's not on a date. We're just, he's about to go in the shower and he's like, come and hoof it. We call it hoofing at each other because we have the dogs and anyway, so we hoof at each other. He's like, come and hoof at me for a bit. And I'm like, okay, so I'll just sit on the kitchen or on the bathroom counter and just chat with him while he's in the shower. And, yeah, we'll just do that all the time. So we hoof at each other all the time. I go into his office and just chat with him. Anytime one of us has something like serious going on or something that's bothering us or something we're excited about, like we always tell each other. Sometimes we talk for hours, but we don't do dates. So I want us to do more dates. I think it's nice. I enjoy it. So anyway, he proposed we go out for a date day on Saturday because he's going to be in, I think fiber is attacking my nose. There's fiber everywhere. We had a date day on Saturday. He's going to be in New York for over a week fishing. And so he was like, we're not going to be together for birthday things or, see each other for over a week. And it was making him sad. So he just wanted to go on a date together, which I appreciated. So we went to the yarn shop. We also went shopping for him for new clothes because he is in desperate need of new clothes. None of his clothes fit him. And also he's just worn through a lot of them. So he needed wardrobe updating. So we went to a few shops for him for clothing, and then we went to the yarn shop for me. We went to Chattanooga for our shopping adventure. We go to Chattanooga pretty frequently. Chattanooga, Tennessee. We go there pretty frequently. So they just opened a new yarn shop. It's the only yarn shop in Chattanooga, and it just opened October 1st. I think it was October 1st. I went to the grand opening, actually, because it was so exciting. I didn't buy any yarn, though, but I bought the yarn this weekend, so I'm about to share that with you. But first, I'm just going to share very briefly with you. Apparently, nothing is brief today, but nothing ever is. That's okay. Chatty podcasts are the best podcasts, I think. Well, I'd say that. There's some very non-chatty podcasts that are very artfully done, that are just so calming and wonderful. Like Be Mandarines, Melody Hoffman. She doesn't do podcasts, she does vlogs, and they're so peaceful and whimsical and full of nature, and she just feels, I feel like she has the soul of like the oldest, wisest willow tree. I just love her. I want her to be my best friend. I got this at Eddie Bauer. This is a foldable, collapsible, packable. They call it a waist pack. Those of us who were alive in the 90s know this is 100% a fanny pack. And you can't tell me otherwise. And, as somebody who was very much alive and aware and bebopping around in the 90s, I have a lot of angst about fanny packs because cool people did not use fanny packs in the 90s. Moms used fanny packs in the 90s. So fanny packs are coming back, and I was not pleased when I first saw them. I tend to be very neutral about fashion stuff because it's things you put on your body or things that you wear or things that you put other things in or whatever. It's all arbitrary. So I tend to not have strong feelings about it, but every once in a while there's something that just like, you know, like twinges a memory or something or has some association. Fanny packs are one of those. There are probably a lot of people that were alive in the 90s that also have similar feelings about like, what are you doing? Don't wear fanny packs are what moms wear at Disney. What are you doing? They're coming back. They're coming back. They're coming in hot. And actually they are coming in hot. Some of them are actually very cute and people are wearing them differently now than they wore them back then. And I think they're wearing them in a cuter way. So I found myself out for a very short hike a few weeks ago, and I didn't have pockets, and I had more things than was comfortable to hold in my hands. And I found myself wishing that I had a small water bottle, and I didn't have anywhere to put any of this stuff. It would have been real handy to have a fanny pack, or as Eddie Bauer says, a waist pack. Would have been real handy. Could I keep a small backpack in my car? Sure. Is a small backpack too big for the objects that I would need to carry? Yes. Is a small backpack also more inconvenient to get into than a little fanny pack that's just sitting right here? Also, yes. So what did I do? Well, Eddie Bauer had these 50% off, and they had this adorable olive green floral pattern. So I got myself a fanny pack, you guys. And it's really cute, I think. I think this is very cute, and it actually does fold up very easily. A lot of the times these convertible, like foldable, packable things, it's impossible to get them folded and packed back after you've unfolded it. And then it's no longer compact and easily stored. It's very frustrating. So I actually like unfolded this and unpacked it in the store because I was curious. How easy is it going to be to get this sucker back into its little pocket? Well, it's real freaking easy. This guy folded back up very easily. Part of me wants to show you, and part of me doesn't want to risk it on camera, so I won't. Also, it's a fanny pack. It doesn't take up that much storage to begin with, or that much space to begin with. And it's probably just going to live in my car for when I need an impromptu storage device for walks or short hikes. So yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys because, one, I just thought it was kind of hilarious, and, you know, a little bit eating my own words, but never say never, and opinions can change, and I shouldn't be so quick to judge sometimes. Fanny packs have a place in this world. This one I think is pretty cute. I'm definitely going to wear it in a cuter way, at least for a while, until I get irritated and I push it back to the fanny where it's supposed to be, where God intended. I probably won't. It's actually pretty functional right in the front because that's where you need all your stuff there. So I don't know. It's definitely function over fashion for me with this, even though I think this one's pretty cute. So yeah, I just thought I'd share it. And it's super lightweight because it's that like, is it like a nylon kind of? It's just basically, it weighs nothing. The thing that weighs something is the buckle. So that's really nice. But also, this is totally big enough to fit a pair of socks or a hat or something into. So you can easily take your knitting with you on hikes or short walks or long walks. You could even have your yarn in here and have the yarn like kind of poking out through this little opening and be knitting as you're walking. Quite conveniently. I don't know. It could be the way of the future, you guys. And we'll see how long this phase lasts. We'll see. It might go away again. It definitely went away for a while after the 90s. Everybody got over the fanny packs real quick, but they're back. So, all right. So Chattanooga Yarn Company is now Chattanooga's yarn shop, and it is a lovely shop. I was so happy to go there for the grand opening. This is what I got at the grand opening. I got this super cute mug in this wonderful chartreuse color. I actually really love chartreuse. And I'm so happy to have a mug because I'm always wanting to buy chartreuse yarn, but I know that I'm never going to wear anything chartreuse, so I'm not going to buy chartreuse yarn. So this kind of gets my chartreuse fix in while I'm knitting because this, sitting next to literally any project I'm knitting, is adorable. So I'm a big fan of this mug. And I love to have swag from Chattanooga's yarn shop. So this is Chattanooga Yarn Company. This is my bag of gubbins that I got. this weekend while I was out shopping with Alex. They're a real big fan of the bright green. I got some truly gorgeous things, you guys. I got four things. Really, I got 2 of the same. So I kind of got 3 things, but I got 4 things. All from the same dyer. And this is a local to Chattanooga dyer. So an indie dyer that lives in the Chattanooga area. I'll show you guys these first. I got 2 sock sets that I'm really hoping you're not too jealous of, although you can get on their website and order them. Again, Chattanooga Yarn Company. This is the Stella Luna Fiber Co. These are 2 of her sock sets on Tweed. Look at how gorgeous these are. I have no words. I do have a lot of sun though. All right, I think the sun's gonna have to go. I can't actually remove the sun like actually, but I can do this. Actually, let's go this direction. This is good. This is quality content. You can see all the little fuzzies that are on my sweater. There's so many of them. It's fair. It's getting fuzzy, but again, it's a house sweater. No one will know except for you and me. But that's okay. All right, so I've got these 2 true beauties. Oh, actually, I think the color shows up a little better now that we don't have that sun right there. Are they not gorgeous? All right, so this is Mulled Wine. This is her Tweed Stella sock set. And is that not stunning? I think this is going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous pair of autumnal socks. This could be my birthday socks. It is 120 grams because we got this 20-gram mini. So it's 525 yards and 120 grams. It's 85% Superwash Merino, 15% Donegal Nep. The colorway is Mulled Wine. Gorgeous. One more look at that bad boy. Ah, beauty. And then its friend. I was trying to pick between the 2 of them, and Alex is like, for not being a knitter, he is definitely a yarn enabler. He's like, just get both. You like both of them, and look how cute they are together. And think of all the things you could wear with them. How happy they would make you if you were to, whatever. He's an enabler, but I do love him. He loves to make me happy, which is, you know, just so incredibly sweet, and I'm very lucky to have him. So this is my second set. This is Conversation Hearts. And look how good the tweed is with the dye job that she does. And the little mini she pairs with it is so cute. And I really do love these 2 just like sitting next to each other. I don't know why. But they make me really, really happy. I love them. They make me so happy. So I definitely was practicing some self-restraint because I kind of wanted to cast these on immediately on Saturday when I got them. This pair in particular for autumnal socks, but I wanted to show them to you guys. So I didn't cast it on. So I'm very proud. But what my thought is I was trying to decide, do I want to do socks with these or do I want to do something else? Because they're so gorgeous. I think I want to make beautiful socks with them. I don't have any tweed socks. And I really like the idea of having these as socks, but I'm going to have a lot of yarn left over. So what I think I'm going to try to do, we'll see if I have enough yarn to do this, but my thought right now is to take whatever's left over and do fingerless mitts. How cute would it be to have matching socks and mitts? And also I find myself wanting just like a little bit extra warmth on my hands right now. But I don't need like full-on mittens or gloves. So yeah, I love the idea of turning these into little fingerless mitts after I turn them into socks. And I do love all of these colors together. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like if I don't have enough yarn after doing socks, for instance, with this one, to just do a pair of fingerless mitts with the leftovers from this, and, you know, and with this one, and then have 2 pairs of fingerless mitts, I could combine all of these to do a pair of fingerless mitts because I really do love the colors together, and I don't really know if they actually go together, but they do make me happy together. So I could just end up with some very colorful tweed mitts. we'll see. But these are gorgeous, and I am so psyched about them. Those are my sock sets I got. And then I also got, this is also Stella Luna Fiber Co. I got some Surrey silk. I think I'm going to get one more of these and do a sweater. Birthday cast on. I was wanting to do a birthday cast on sweater. And so that might end up happening with this. I'm almost positive that's going to be what ends up happening. This is the colorway Tobacco Leaf. This is Surrey Cloud Lace. It's 74% baby Surrey alpaca, 26% silk. It is 328 yards and 50 grams. And Tobacco Leaf. And it's just this gorgeous mauve pink, dusty pinks with this wonderful like gilded gold kind of color. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. So I really want to buy, I think, one more of this and do a sweater. I'm not convinced. I'm not 100% decided that that's what I'm going to do, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going to end up happening. And the sweater that I think I want to do, if you are familiar with Melody Hoffman of Beat Mandarins, Tulip Jumper, it is pretty well known, so you probably are familiar with it. This is her Tulip Jumper. I bought this pattern when she was fundraising for Ukraine. I bought several of her patterns while she was fundraising for Ukraine. And this is one of them because I knew I had to have this sweater or this jumper at some point in my life. And I think now might be the time. So I think a beautiful gold and blush pink, Surrey, fuzzy, natural toned, gorgeous tulip jumper is just what I need. So yeah, that could be on the horizon. We'll see. I need a base yarn for it to pair the Surrey with. I have some ideas, but I haven't decided 100% yet. So we will see. That might be all I have to share with you guys, actually. Let's see. Oh, I need to tell you guys the story. That's right. Okay, so the story is, maybe make sure too I'm not forgetting anything, but I don't think I am. Yeah, so I'll tell the story real quick because actually I've got to skedaddle and get to work. So the story is we went to the fair. There was like, a traveling county fair thing happening. And so we went to the fair because my friend wanted to go to the fair and we were like, okay, we'll go to the fair with you. And while we were there, I was coerced into playing the fishbowl game. So, you throw the little ball, the little ping pong balls and try to get them into a fishbowl so that you can win goldfish. Well, I was coerced. I was emotionally manipulated. Basically, I just, was giving into the frivolity of the moment. And I tried to make a vaguely informed decision, like, because this is an animal that I will be responsible for. We've been wanting to do an aquarium for a bit, so I was like, we'll get the goldfish, and, worst case scenario, they die, and we replace them with other fish, because we've been kind of thinking about getting fish anyway. So they're going to be a lot more expensive than buying goldfish at the pet store, for the fish that they are, but whatever. I'm paying for the experience. So I got 2 goldfish. I won 2 goldfish. One, Alex won, and the other, she just gave to me for free because she, I think, felt sorry for me. So I got 2 goldfish, and we brought them home, and it was like midnight when we got home, and there weren't any stores open where we could get an aquarium or any water treatment stuff or anything. So we went through a whole big ordeal of making water where the fish wouldn't die because they were rapidly running out of oxygen in the little bags. The bags were not fully inflated at all. So we didn't want to wake up to dead fish. So went through that whole ordeal to try to get the fish into water that wouldn't kill them in a giant mixing bowl overnight. we did all that. I woke up the next morning. They were still alive in their mixing bowl, which was grand. And then one of the hamsters have deceased. So I didn't really address that really in any of the podcast episodes because it's always a touchy subject to talk about when pets die. These two particular pets, I gave a very good life. They did not like people. So I didn't really like bond with them very strongly. I certainly like cared about them. But it was not the same as if one of the dogs died. Well, they will all die eventually because we're all mortal, but anyway. So the hamsters are no more. But they lived very good hamster lives because I care about animals a lot. So, yeah, and I try to be good about my pets. So, because they're more family members than pets. I guess the hamsters were really more like pets than, actually, the hamsters were really more like renters that didn't pay rent, but that's fine. So, hamsters are no more. So, one of the hamsters was in an actual like fish aquarium. The other one was in an enclosure that wasn't not meant for fish, so it's not waterproof. But the other one, I bought a 30 gallon fish tank to create that one's enclosure. Because it gave the square footage or the square inchage that I wanted for that enclosure for the hamster. Anyway, hamster's dead, but I still got all the stuff in the hamster aquarium, so I got to clean out the aquarium. So I come down the stairs to get to the basement, and we have hardwood floors. So it's hardwood floors on the stairs, and I fall down the stairs because I slip, because I'm wearing hand-knit socks that have accumulated Great Dane fur, and I slip on the stairs. So I fall down the stairs. It was not a super dramatic fall, so I didn't really think tons about it. I sat there for a few minutes, in pain, and I managed to not scream or anything, so I didn't wake anybody else up, which I was very proud of. I just kind of went, eek! That was it. Nobody woke up. Because this is earlier than, it's like 8 a.m. on a Saturday. And I didn't feel like I was super injured. I felt like I was more just bruised. So I tried standing up slowly and everything seemed fine and that was all right. My mistake was I fell down the stairs and then immediately started cleaning by myself a 30-gallon glass aquarium. Those things are not light. So I'm picking it up. I am carrying it into a shower. I'm manipulating this thing in the shower. I'm with soapy water cleaning it out in a shower. I'm trying to get it back out of the shower. I'm like, these things are not light. And I just fell down the stairs. But I'm like, oh, I don't really feel injured. I'm just bruised. I'll be fine. Well, I was okay. Alex helped me with the aquarium for actually doing the fish. Although we filled up the aquarium with maybe 20 gallons of water and then decided we wanted it in a different place. So we picked up a 30-gallon tank plus 20 gallons of water, and he and I carry it to another part of the living room and lift it onto. So we're carrying it and then lifting it to get it onto this section of the built-in cabinet thing, and that probably wasn't good for me. So long story short, by the end of the day, I was having terrible pain in my shoulder and my neck, and it didn't get better. And the next morning it was actually worse, to the point of Alex having to help me out of bed because I couldn't get up. It just kept getting worse. So I went to the doctor that afternoon. He did an exam and did some like manual manipulation stuff. He told me, do not go to the chiropractor. He was like, you don't need high velocity adjustments right now. You need something very gentle. Particularly, as we don't know if you've torn anything. So, yeah. So anyway, I was put on no knitting in a stressful way. He said that I could do very specific types of knitting. I had to stay in a very specific posture. I was on medications that were actually not super heavy medications, which I was thankful for. Yeah, so I just had to be very careful. all last week, and the only thing I really could knit on was my mystery knit along and socks, because everything else was too heavy, or I had to manipulate it too much, and it had to move my neck and shoulder, so it would send like stabbing pain through my body. And also I just wasn't supposed to be doing I wasn't supposed to do anything that caused pain, because we didn't want to make it worse. So yeah, so that is the main reason why I didn't work on my Weasley sweater, because I had planned on working on it all week, so it'd be done by today, but then I wasn't able to because I couldn't do the DPNs and the bulky yarn, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of the seaming because I wouldn't have been able to lift the sweater around because it's heavier. It's like, at this point, almost 6 skeins of yarn. Yep, so that's what happened. That is what happened. Was there more to this story? I feel like that's mostly it. I think I mentioned on like one of the episodes previously that we'd gotten an aquarium membership, which I'm very excited about. We went to the Halloween event at the aquarium, and it was super fun. I posted a few pictures on Instagram, but not tons. It was really fun. And I'm wanting to volunteer with their conservation team, but they don't have any spots available right now, so I'm going to keep my eye on that because I really want to volunteer. One of the things I like about our aquarium is that they are really good about conservation and education and all kinds of things. They really do care about the animals and about the nature and the environment just generally. So I want to volunteer with their conservation team, but I'll have to wait. So yeah, we just had done that, and then within a few days we had our own small aquarium at the house, which delighted me in theory, but also injured me quite literally. So that was my own fault, though. I shouldn't have started moving heavy things right after falling down the stairs, because that is what me and the doctor kind of concluded. He was like, if you had just done one or the other, you probably would have been a bit sore, but not injured. But as you did both, one right after the other, my body was not happy with me. But it doesn't look like anything broke or was thrown out of place. It doesn't look like I really tore anything. It looks like I strained some things and really made some muscles mad. But it's now over a week later, and I'm pretty good. So I think we're okay. I'm almost back to normal. So that's been treated just fine. I'm still being careful with my knitting. I'm propping everything up on like big pillows and like propping up my elbows because he told me I have to like look straight ahead. Not so much now, but at that time. So I had to like have my knitting like right in front of me so that I didn't look down, and I had to have everything propped so that like I wasn't like straining my shoulders or my neck in any way. So it's actually pretty comfortable. I'm trying to knit like that more because I think it's probably better for me. Yeah, so that's my fun adventure from the past week. Yeah. So I think that's all I have to share with you guys for today. Partially because I know I've got to go get to work. So I have to go get ready and then drive to the office. But thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you enjoyed the projects and the yarn and the chat. Yeah, I'll have the magical make-along, the final magical make-along video up hopefully this weekend. And yeah, thank you so much, you guys. I will just end it here. I don't really know how to end it more gracefully than this because I have run out of words. And now I'm already kind of switching into my work mode where I'm trying to think about work things. So I'll just end it. Thank you guys. I think that was like the 3rd or 4th time I said that. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope that you have a good Halloween and just a good week in general and are enjoying your fall, your autumn. I will see you guys again soon. Bye.